Staggered swing, switch sides, and repeat. When you do this 3 times on each side, on each side. Sit up till the kettlebell hits the floor and repeat for 7 times on each side. Hello all. So today I'm going to do a workout where while I'm resting, I'm going to do 1 minute backwards on the manual treadmill, followed by 30 seconds forward or pushing on the treadmill. So on this treadmill, you can adjust the resistance. So depending on what resistance you keep it at, it's actually like, especially while moving forward, you kind of have to push, kind of like a sled push in order to get the treadmill moving. And so it kind of acts as a really low resistance sled, but it's just not as taxing. And I'm able to, I guess, move a little bit more freely, if that makes sense, while on the treadmill as opposed to if I was on the sled. Plus, I'm able to move between my stations faster. So, what I'm going to do, so that was 1 minute, now I'm going to push it for 30 seconds. So, essentially, what I'm going to do is my rest periods, quote unquote, are going to be 1 minute and 30 seconds long because that's the time during which I'll be doing the treadmill. And then I'm going to interspace them with kettlebell complexes and or flows so that I can get a resistance training element while doing cardio essentially. So that was 1 minute and 30 seconds. So for the kettlebell complex portion of things, using a 24 kilogram kettlebell, which is around 55 pounds, I think, to do a high pull, 2-step clean, 2-step snatch, staggered swing, switch sides, and repeat. When you do this 3 times on each side, after that, so that was with a 24 kilo, 55 poundish, I think, and then with the 45 pound, 20 kilogram kettlebell, I'm going to get it into goblet position essentially and do Cossacks, alternating Cossack squats. So going for 3 on each side and then back to the treadmill. So I'm recording one more set to kind of give an idea of the pace I'm trying to keep. So when I do the backwards walking, I'm keeping the resistance of the treadmill at 6, and then when I'm moving forward, I'm keeping it at 10, which is the max resistance. And when I get on the sled, I just take a look at my workout tracker and make a note of the time, and then make sure that I hit 1 minute. And so instead of, like, usually when I'm taking a rest, I'm pacing around, here I'm able to have a little bit of a resistance component, but not too much, to where my body still is able to perceive it as rest to a certain degree. And then move into the kettlebell comp right after. This is my 5th set, and I'm essentially going to be doing 5 sets of each of the upcoming circuits, and they're all going to be kind of the same way, where I'll be doing the treadmill right before I do the kettlebell complexes and or flows. That was 30 seconds. So yeah, my heart rate's at like 163. And so if you guys have been watching my workouts over the past couple of days, it's definitely been more focused on cardio and endurance. Another thing that I'm doing within the workout is having a mobility element. So the Cossack squats kind of focus on the hip mobility, inner hip. With every circuit, I'm planning on having one element that's a little bit more mobility-esque, along with something that's more taxing from a strength and explosiveness perspective. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. For now, that was my 5th set. On to the next circuit. So, like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to start off with 1 minute on the treadmill. This is my fifth set of the 2nd circuit. The act of like adjusting the camera to record makes the rest period a little longer than I want it to be, so I just save it for the last set. Or I'm recording my last set of each circuit instead of, usually I do the 3rd or 4th set. In any case, starting with just walking backwards and then going to push. It allows me to just keep moving rapidly, and then the resistance makes it a little harder than it just regular backward walking or regular forward walking. I got, I think, about 5 seconds left. Yep. Then push. So the pushing motion seems to be more cardiovascularly intense than the backward walking. But after doing both of these, like your heart rate, like I think my heart rate ends up going to about 129 to 131 by the time I'm done on the treadmill. Yep. And then, so for the kettlebell complex, doing anchored clean to press. So I'm anchoring, which is just holding one kettlebell on a side. So I'm using 62 pounds, 28 kilograms. And in my other hand, I have a 13.6 kilogram, which is 30 pounds. And so I'm going to do 10 anchored clean and presses. So anchoring myself on one side makes the movement a lot, well, not a lot, quite a bit different than if it was unanchored. So the side of the body that's holding the kettlebell has to stay like very rigid and tight in order to like keep the kettlebell in place, because if it's dangling around, it's uncomfortable for the body. And then, but with the other side, I have to stay fluid to be able to accomplish the clean and press. And so while doing the clean and press, I'm doing like a slight stagger with the legs. So if I'm pressing with my left hand, when I'm cleaning, I'm moving that same leg back. So after that, so like I said, I'm going to add a mobility component. So here I'm doing a hand-to-hand snatch to windmill for 5 on each side. So shoulder stability and mobility, lower back stability and mobility, core, lower back, all that good stuff. So yeah, that was 5 sets of that. By the end of it, my heart rate's at around 152. So yeah, I did this for 5 sets. On to the next circuit. So for the final set of movements, well, I might do some abs after this, but yeah, this is going to be the last circuit of the, I guess, backwards treadmill and sled or forward push. But just to do some math here, so every set I'm doing about a minute and 30 seconds on the treadmill, and so at the end of this it would have been 15 sets. So that's okay, so 1.5 minutes, 1.5 times 10 is 15, plus another 5 is 22.5. So around 22.5 minutes of total treadmill time while also interspacing them with complexes. To be honest, sometimes the complexes I think take a little longer than the time spent on the treadmill, but it is what it is. The time spent on the treadmill is, I mean, I think I'm just kind of rephrasing a point that I made earlier, but it's just enough work to where you're able to keep your heart rate high, to keep, like, so you don't feel like completely rested, but um, you do get like rest from weight training, if that makes sense. So at least my like weight training ability, so like all the snatches and stuff, that gets to recuperate a little, but I don't. But since I'm still moving, the cardiovascular system doesn't get to fully rest. In any case, for the second set of movements, doing an anchored, or second movement, doing an anchored snatch. So anchoring with the 28 kilogram 62-pound kettlebell in one hand, and then using a 30-pound 13.6 pound or 13.6 kilogram 30-pound kettlebell in the other. So I'm going to snatch and step for 8 on each side. So the act of holding the kettlebell, like the previous movement or the movement in the previous set of exercises, it makes snatching and stepping quite a bit more different, and the explosiveness has to come from one side. And it's a unique challenge on the core. In any case, for the third movement, it's actually going to be a two-part thing. So, going to do staggered snatch into lunge and windmill, switching sides. Going to do this 3 times. On the third one, I'm going to do a figure 8, tap back to figure 8 snatch into windmill. So going to do this 3 times now on each side. So yeah, that was my 5th set of the final circuit. Gonna do an ab exercise or 2 to finish off, and then yeah, let's see what that is. So doing abs, I've noticed, actually I'll talk about that later. So for abs, using this glute ham machine or bench. And then I have a 25-pound kettlebell. And I'm going to do a sit-up till the kettlebell hits the floor. And repeat for 7 times on each side. Switching sides. That's pretty brutal on the abs, and I'm able to like focus a lot more on the obliques and just the abs unilaterally. I'm going to do this for 3 to 4 sets. But what I was trying to say earlier was I notice a very significant difference in my midsection when I incorporate more direct ab work as opposed to just focusing on all the other stuff that I do, which involves a lot of core. But there's something about doing like focused ab work that at least aesthetically makes a difference in the abs. And at the moment, I'm not 100% pleased with the way my abs look. So, along with this focus on cardio that's kind of taken place over the past like 4 or 5 workouts, I also want to place an emphasis on direct ab work. So yeah, I'll probably do one more ab exercise, but let me get done with this first. So for what will be the final exercise of the workout, sticking to the glute ham machine, but instead of using a 25-pound kettlebell, I'm using a 25-pound plate. The reason for picking a weight instead of a kettlebell, or a plate instead of a kettlebell, is because it's just easier to perform or more convenient. In any case, leaning back, doing an oblique twist, come up, shoulder press, then oblique twist. Just going to do this till failure. So yeah, doing this, that was only 6 reps, but at this point 6 reps is pretty exhausting. So yeah, I'm going to do one more set of this before I head to the sauna. That'll be it for today's video. See you all tomorrow.